Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. There you go. Thank you so much. Welcome to our town hall meeting this morning, this beautiful evening here in Barstow. I'm Ken Chop. I'm the assistant city manager. We have a great night in store for you this evening. First of all, I just want to recognize a couple people in the audience. We have Barstow Mayor Tim Silva in the audience. And former Mayor Julie Hackbarth is also in the audience. Is there any more electeds that I missed? I'm sure I missed somebody. If I did, I apologize. But if you like, go ahead and pass me a note, and I can recognize you at a later date. The city is excited to chart a new course for its future and bring positive change to the Barstow community. This begins with a new general plan that will provide comprehensive guidance on how the city and others develop and make investments in Barstow. The biggest part of that is the Barstow International Gateway Project, aka B.I.G, which proposes to bring a state-of-the-art integrated rail facility and thousands of jobs to Barstow, and more efficiently transfer containers from ships at the ports to trains through the BNSF main line. B.I.G will also be governed by its own specific plan, which is a comprehensive zoning tool that will include site-specific regulations and development standards. We're excited to announce that the draft general plan, B.I.G specific plan, and environmental impact report will be released for the public review by the end of this year. We know this has been a very long process and wanted to make sure we got it right when considering such a momentous opportunity to change the course of the city's future. The draft documents will be available at City Hall, the public library, and online at the city's website. You can submit written comments to the Community Development Department, and the city encourages you to read everything and welcomes your input. The city will review and consider all input received in a 45-day comment period when preparing the final documents. After that, the next step will be taking the final draft general plan, B.I.G specific plan, and environmental impact report through the public hearing process with Barstow's Planning Commission and City Council. The city is very excited to reach this next milestone. In a moment, I'll be introducing Colin Drucker with PlaceWorks, the city's consultant on the general plan and environmental analysis, to provide a more detailed update on the process and draft materials to be released and the next steps. We kindly ask that you hold all questions for the duration of the hour-long presentation period. The speakers will be available and their representatives will be available in the foyer, in the lobby after the presentation, and we will gladly respond to any questions you may have at that time. So afterwards, please join us in the lobby for those questions and to meet with those reps. We'll have representatives from the City of Barstow, PlaceWorks, Barstow Chamber of Commerce, Barstow Community College, Supervisor Paul Cook's office, Supervisor Don Rao's office, Assemblyman Tom Lackey's office, Senator Ochoa Bo's office, and Congressman Jay Obernoti's office. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Colin Drucker.
I was just reading to my daughter last night, and oddly enough, I made the exact same statement. Foyer. Oh, okay. And then I tried to explain to her why it was. Anyway, my name is Colin Drucker. As he was stating, we're with PlaceWorks. We're the lead consulting firm that the city's hired to help through this process. So I'm going to run through some of the highlights, and then we can talk to your heart's content afterwards on the city's desire to create a new vision, a new future for the city. So for those who haven't read this, I'm just going to briefly go through what the thoughts are about where the city's going in the future. So Barstow, nestled at the crossroads of history and progress in the heart of the Mojave Desert, is poised to be at the center of regional growth and serves as the hub of the West. The city and its people honor its past while forging a dynamic future, creating a complete community where residents thrive, visitors discover, and businesses flourish. Through collaboration between city leaders, residents, businesses, community organizations, and other stakeholders, Barstow will proactively address current challenges while seizing opportunities to create a prosperous and resilient future. So it's very aspirational, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create really strong, positive change. So the general plan looks at the entire city, both those areas within the current incorporated city limits and other areas outside that are in areas where future growth or services may go. The largest part of change coming to fruition is the big specific plan. This process really started back at the 75th anniversary when we started looking at land use and circulation planning, looking at what others had in mind for development, and what we thought the initial growth could be. Then, in the next year, we really coordinated a lot with the military, other federal, state, and other organizations and entities, looking at what is the environmental analysis going to look like, what is it going to cover, and what are people's concerns about. Then, getting the draft, the admin draft version of the big specific plan, the initial concepts, and getting more details so we could understand and evaluate that application. Then conducting a treasure trove of technical studies that will, for those who like numbers, will make your heart sing, and for those who like analysis, will give you endless nights of reading. Then looking at drafting what are the city's long-term goals. The city has a general plan. What goals need to be updated? What are the policy changes we need to look about? And what are the next steps we need to do to make those vision and goals a reality? So this last year, we've really refined all of that work, conducted a lot of that environmental analysis, and as was said, bringing all of those draft materials for the public to review at the end of the year. We have had a long series of continuous efforts with outreach, starting again with that 75th anniversary, then going out, having a town hall here, doing lots of individual meetings with organizations, entities, individual residents, looking into 2024, having another town hall, having that scoping meeting, really getting out and trying to understand what's important to people. And then finally, we've had a couple of town halls this year as we reach towards that finish line. And you can see in that last part, releasing that draft material, the draft general plan, the draft specific plan, and that draft environmental analysis so that everybody can see what the ideas are and make comments. So, what is a general plan? Put shortly, it is the city's comprehensive long-term plan for not only growth, but improvement of existing areas. So you have that long-term vision that guides all of the documents, and then you have those goals, policies, you have tables, you have maps. That is what city decision makers, that is what investors, that's what residents look at when they try to understand when a decision comes before the city to make an investment, make a choice, what is the direction we should take? Depends on topic. The general plan covers a lot of different topics I'll go over in a second. And then how do we take those next steps? What are the most important things based on this new general plan to try to achieve and effectuate change? So we have these objectives. I'm not going to read all of these, but there are 6 primary objectives. The first deals with having those goals, policies, and strategies that really try to effectuate change, trying to allow for land use circulation and other components that brings livable wage jobs and strengthens the city's economy, and offering more types of housing for a variety of lifestyles and life stages. Fourth, making sure that we look at compatibility between existing land use, existing residential areas, and future areas, both right now and planning and setting the guideposts in the future. And then making sure that we create those economic opportunities so that people not only have new investment come in, but that existing people choose to reinvest in the community. And then finally, trying to capitalize on Barstow's unique location to leverage what it can bring for the national supply chain and what it can bring for the local residents. So those are those objectives that really serve to reinforce the vision and have guided this entire update process. So the general plan itself consists of a number of what are called elements. You can think of them as chapters, they're called elements. And first is introduction, which will tell you a little bit about the purpose, the structure, some of the definitions used. And then we get into land use. This is the meatiest part of the general plan. It's the one that most people are, if they're familiar with anything, they're familiar with this one. Really sets out that land use framework. We're going to have maps out in the lobby. Then circulation and mobility. This is how people get around, not just by car, but in the future as people have electric bikes, people want to walk in certain areas, where do we want to reinforce those modes of mobility? How do we get the essential public services from local government and other agencies to make sure that our life is not only safe, but that people get those educational opportunities? And making sure that we prepare and plan how we're going to respond to hazardous events, whether they be natural or human generated. And then looking at our open spaces and how we conserve our resources that we have, how we try to maintain the lifestyle that we have out here. And then finally, housing, which was updated in 2024. We're not planning on making any changes to it. The state has its own hands in how that gets reviewed, so we're not really going to change much there. And we do address environmental justice as a topic throughout the entirety of the general plan. Rather than isolating it into an individual element, we really look at how we can have it pervade throughout all of the goals and policies. As I said, there are tables, there are maps, and there are other documents in the general plan. So you'll see the main body, and then there's a separate implementation plan. Then there's other documents that get incorporated, like the city's hazardous mitigation plan, the evacuation assessment that looks at what happens, how do people get out in case we have a hazardous event, and then lots of background reports in order to support the general plan. So when I say goals and policies, it's important because you'll see if for some reason you've read other general plans, not everybody has the same approach. The way that we recommend jurisdictions write their goals is that these are broad statements of a future you're trying to achieve. It's not a short-term action, it is this end state you're trying to achieve. And so here's a draft example that we're gonna present later this year. This deals with those public safety services, infrastructure. This is about wanting to have high-quality public facilities and services that serves as a foundation for your quality of life. So when somebody looks at a decision, they not only look at policies, they look at this goal and say, is the decision we're making going to be in furtherance of this goal? Does this help us get there? Or is this counter to this goal? With policies, these are statements that explicitly direct what level of commitment and what action a jurisdiction should take when faced with a decision or a choice to invest. So it's how you're going to achieve and implement those goals. So here's an example. This talks about maintaining adequate facilities and capacity to effectively respond to emergency conditions and create not only that real sense of safety, but that perceived sense of safety, which is often just as important. So that's a general plan in a nutshell. A specific plan, as was mentioned, it's a comprehensive long-term plan, but for a particular part of the city. The general plan covers the entire city. Specific plans come in and look at specific areas and say, let's do a long-term plan here. They're a zoning tool, and they implement the general plan. They have to be consistent with the general plan. They implement it. And they have standards and regulations that may deviate from the city's typical development and zoning ordinance. And it also lays out the more precise infrastructure and circulation plans to make sure that it's well-planned and efficient and connects appropriately. So the draft specific plan, this is essentially a micro version of the table of contents that goes through all of the different types of development plans that you will see both in maps and narratives. You will also see explicit development regulations and design guidelines. They will specify whether or not you should just go to the conventional zoning ordinance, or there are specific, special, unique standards that apply really to this type of development, this area of the city. So that was a speed run of a specific plan. Now, what you've all come here, I know, to ask about is CEQA and the Environmental Impact Report. So CEQA is it's a state law that was passed in the early 1970s. And an EIR, it's the most comprehensive form of environmental review under CEQA. So this is a law that looks at, for our purposes, both the general plan and the specific plan, looking at the potential impacts. And the purpose of that law is to inform decision makers and the public about the potential impacts that might come with the proposed project. It's also a way to identify feasible options and actions to reduce those impacts and identify alternatives. So what an EIR does at the end of the day, it really allows the city and the public and the elected officials to make an informed decision about the impacts and the benefits of the project before coming to conclusion. So when we're talking about what are we studying, it's not just the map, it's how many people, how many houses, how many jobs are we talking about. This is existing conditions, that's what we compare our potential impacts to, is what is that growth compared to existing conditions. This is the potential growth we're modeling, we're evaluating that could come over the next 25 years for housing and residents. And these are the number of jobs we're thinking could come, and that includes the big specific plan area. And in the end, we're looking at an end state of the city nearly doubling in size. So this is really big change, and we're trying to evaluate all the potential implications of that. In the EIR, it's going to be a very long document. It's going to have an executive summary that's really great to read and gives you obviously an intention of summarizing the entirety of the document. You'll get that introduction followed by a description of the project, which will be the general plan, the specific plan, and other actions that are associated. Then it'll give you a sense of the context that we're working with. And then the largest topic by far is the analysis by individual topic for potential impacts. I'll get into those topics in a second. Then it looks at what happens when all of this change happens and surrounding change happens. What's the accumulation potential for impacts? And then there's other CEQA considerations, alternatives, not shown on here as number 9, list of preparers, and then appendices. The appendices will be by far the longest set of PDFs you will probably ever download if you do download them. But they will be listed. You can pick and choose what you want to read and what you want to see background information on. So the topics in that section 5, the first topic, aesthetics. Then we're going to ag and forestry resources. Obviously, we're not dealing with forestry in Barstow, but these are the topics that are listed in state law. Going through air quality, different resources like biological, cultural, looking at energy resources, mineral resources, looking at, again, air quality, greenhouse gas emissions more specifically, and looking at hazards and wildfire. Blessedly, not really as big of a risk, obviously, here as in other places. And then finally, looking at stormwater and water quality. Those are the first 10 topics. Then there's 7 other topics. Land use is one, followed by noise, then looking at population and housing, so not just land use, but the people and the growth associated with them. How do we serve and what are the open space and parks and recreation services around? What are the impacts there? What's the impact for transportation? Now, this is not about road congestion. This is about how efficient the transportation is going to be. Then looking at tribal cultural resources as a separate section. And then finally, utilities and service systems, looking at all of those water, sewer, and other systems that kind of pump everything through and make our life possible here. So within each of those topical sections, you'll have these set of subsections. The first 4 really get at an overview, giving you an understanding of what this is about and what are the potential impacts. Then you'll have your more detailed analysis and conclusions, and then you'll have all of the sources that are used in case you want to go back and understand some of the background. So our tips to review, because these are huge, momentous endeavors that the city is trying to consider right now. And so state law requires a tremendous amount of analysis and documentation. So the general plan and the specific plan will be nice, relatively concise documents for you to look at. Nice pictures, well formatted, looks great. Then you will open up the draft EIR potentially, and you will see, oh my gosh, how many nights are left in my brain. There is a lot of information here. So we do encourage you, review the entire EIR, however much you want, all of it, God bless you if you do. But what we found is that reading these sections here are the fastest way for you to understand the EIR, understand the conclusions, and then figure out where your interests lay so you can make more efficient use of your time and at least prioritize what you want to read. So it's that executive summary, the project description, and then there's these introduction and summary of findings subsections in each of those 5. Just look at those 2. It's very short, gives you the highlights, and then that way you can dive in deeper if you want. So the next steps for the EIR, as was mentioned, we'll mention it a bunch more times. There's going to be out before the end of the year for public review and comment. It's going to be a 45-day public review period. Submit your comments in writing, and then we'll make revisions, respond to comments, prepare a final EIR, and then have a summary of findings and any statements of overriding considerations. So again, we were really working hard on the technical analysis, that environmental analysis, working on updating the general plan. We're going to be releasing the draft general plan relatively soon, followed by the draft EIR and the final EIR. And then the idea is that molds into adoption hearings. So with that, here's some contact information. Stay informed, but I will turn it over to Dr. Ava B.I.G to talk to you more.
Thank you, Colin. Wow, I'm quite a bit shorter, I think, here. How's that? Oh, goodness. Good evening, everyone. I want to begin by just acknowledging all the wonderful people here gathered here at Barstow Community College, our wonderful Performing Arts Center, our Board of Trustees, city officials, BNSF representatives. We've got business and industry leaders, great field representation for 1st District Supervisor Paul Cook, 3rd District Supervisor Don Rao, Assemblyman Tom Lackey, Senator Ochoa Bao, and Congressman Jay Obernolte, and of course all of the community members that are here tonight joining us. Welcome. It's wonderful having you here. Thank you. And let's see here. Having to scroll through. Whoops. Sorry about this. Not viewing everything that I have here. Anyway, just want to set the stage for the excitement that Barstow Community College has been feeling with the anticipation of BIG and really the preparations that we have been making over the years to support not only the facility, the construction of the facility, workforce training, and really the broader economic development that we all are anticipating with the BIG project. Here we go. And I want to start by just acknowledging the role of the college as it relates to the topic of tonight, the BIG project, and really just take a moment to really express my appreciation for the Board of Trustees and the vision that they have had even before BIG was conceptualized. I've been president here at the college for 8 years, and I will tell you that the board goals have always included and prioritized career technical education and really recognizing and prioritizing the college's role as a partner to work with area leaders for economic development activities in the region. The board has maintained its focus on advancing career education throughout this time, and I think it was in 2023 where the board actually explicitly identified the BIG project as one of its specific goals to support the workforce training in anticipation of BIG. So really want to recognize the unsung heroes of the college. It comes from the top, and the support has been fantastic, not only in terms of the vision, but also in terms of the investment that the board has envisioned and supported. Investment in terms of facilities for career technical education, equipment, and also recently the board added to the leadership team a high-level executive director of strategic partnerships and workforce development in order to meet the needs that are coming up. So really appreciate that. And then a little bit more specifically about the support that we've had in investment. And this is going prior to news of the community of the BIG project. You know, of course, Barstow is a railroad town. We've been supporting some of the work for BNSF, but going back to 2018, we were intensifying our relationship with BNSF, and we were able to develop some customized training for welding certification. We learned that there were changes in legislation, and BNSF needed to annually update welding certifications for some of their employees. So we were able to partner with local BNSF representatives and also with corporate headquarters. We entered into a contract with BNSF for customized workforce training. And once again, our Board of Trustees, they agreed to invest. It was about $600,000 of investment, taking an old fitness lab and renovated it into a state-of-the-art welding facility. So here's a photo of the opening of that in 2018. And We've continued to provide this workforce training. There's small cohorts of BNSF employees, whether they're from Barstow, Southern California, or really any BNSF location where they want to send employees to get this welding certification. They come right here to Barstow Community College and get that certification. I think it's in about a 3-week period of time. And you know, so this was a very exciting opportunity to start this partnership. It's continued on. It was originally a 5-year contract, which we've extended. And you know, if you take a close look at this photo, and I really encourage you to do that, just want to point out a very important person to BNSF, the railway, to the right, Mr. Lawrence Dale. And, you know, I think I was talking with Lena about that, and I think she'll say a few more words about it. But, you know, Mr. Dale was really instrumental, I know, in introducing me to the local importance of the railway here in Barstow. He was really instrumental in helping us also to get this partnership going, this contract that I'm talking about. And just want to recognize and honor him and the importance. Thank you. We know that he was a strong driver behind this project as well, so very meaningful, and just really wanted to point that out. I was pulling together photographs for this, and this one came up, and it was like, wow, this is really very fitting as well. So this is the very same building I just showed you a photo of. So looking inside, you can see inside the welding shop, it houses equipment that through our contract is supplied by BNSF. You've got well over 20 welding booths inside where this certification takes place. And really, you know, we're just wanting to communicate. We continue to communicate with BNSF because we hope that there will be more opportunities to develop more customized training as the need presents itself. So now I'd like to talk a little bit more about some of the programs we are building and refining to support the big project and beyond, right? There's lots of economic development that we're anticipating. And here you can see one of our electromechanical industrial maintenance workers. It's quite a nameful, and I'm looking down at some of our instructors. So I'm going to say that again: electromechanical industrial maintenance instructors. He's working with students in preparing students for roles in facility operations and equipment maintenance. And I just want to point out that the faculty, we've been able to add some new faculty, full-time faculty. We also have part-time faculty, and they have extensive industry experience and expertise. And I kind of want to highlight, I can't see them because I can't see over this thing, but they're sitting right down in the front row. Thank you. The photograph shows Mr. Toby Hill, and we also have here Robert Sheldon and Brian Packer. Right down here. Thank you. No, we're really privileged to have local individuals with lots of experience, and some of whom have recently left their jobs to come and teach at Barstow College. We have a full-time instructor who's actually retired from BNSF. So close collaboration, strong expertise, and what's really exciting to see is these men are extremely passionate about teaching, and they're also, you know, Barstow people who understand the importance of training the pipeline of workers to be part of building the future of Barstow. So we're really grateful to have them, and I encourage those of you who want to go out and look at some of the trainers that they have available and can do some demos for you. I encourage you to do that and kind of get to know the instructors that are part of the program development. Here you see Mr. Hill, again, our instructor, working with students, utilizing a new training equipment, and that's what's actually out in the lobby tonight. It's the Amtral Skill Boss Logistics. It supports performance-based assessment for evaluating the skill levels and competencies of future supply chain automation technicians. So it's a system that's working as an automated distribution system, performs real-world operations and conveyors, queuing up packages, pneumatic control devices. So I encourage you to see more how those perform. So that's one of the areas in terms of supply chain automation that we're really building out. We're working with, I think it's the Mechanical Skills Council. It's a 3-part certification that we're building and offering to students, looking at equipment development, maintenance, and network repair. So these will be extremely important certifications to have for, the ecosystem of automated supply chain management as the big project continues to expand. We are also in the process of developing new drone technology programs, and we recently received a state grant to support that development. So we know that the scale of the big facility will require massive surveillance capabilities and infrastructure inspection, all of which can be supported with our drone tech program. The program will include FAA certification and maintenance certifications as well. And just want to say, we know that drone technology will be important for the big facility, but I know that we've also been having recent conversations with local law enforcement as well to be able to leverage the development of the drone program for broader applications. And we're open to, obviously, there's all kinds of potential innovative applications for this program as well. Here you can see some of our instructors who are working with students to fabricate. These are the very booths. They're inside the welding shop that I showed you the picture of outside, and where we're providing BNSF employees with their welding certification. So this is, fabrication. The partnership, of course, as you can see, has helped to support the expansion development of our precision welding and fabrication certification. All of this is aligned with industry standards. So you can see the program's already producing skilled labor to support not only the construction potentially big, but all of the other infrastructure that we anticipate with the growth and development of Barstow. Some of you who've attended some other recent college presentations, State of the City, that was hosted here in the facility a while back, you've heard about a partnership that we're extremely proud to be offering. This is the Veterans Electrical Entry Program. We're partnering with that organization. This program is designed by the Electrical Training Alliance to fill 2 critical needs facing our nation, quite frankly, and Barstow. Number 1 is to provide transitioning service members and separated vets the ability to re-enter the civilian workforce in a high-demand field for good quality jobs. And it's, sorry, trying to scroll this. I've got notes here that I can't access because it's not scrolling down, but sorry, but just to describe the program. So the V program it's a 6-week pre-apprenticeship program that we hope to start to offer at the Barstow facility January and February. And basically veterans, and they can be veterans who've been out of the military for up to 5 years, which gives a really great opportunity for the re-entry aspect of veterans desiring to enter the civilian workforce. The pre-entry program leads directly into an apprenticeship through the IBEW, and then into union jobs. So we're looking at this as, on the one hand, an opportunity to really help provide the need for electricians with the construction of B.I.G, and again, all the other infrastructure that will be happening in Barstow. With the initiation of the VEAP program and learning from that, we're hoping that that will expand to other apprenticeship opportunities with construction and other types of union-based jobs that will support the college and this region. So while B.I.G has been a cornerstone for a lot of the work at the college, the growth it has catalyzed is obviously part of a larger economic ecosystem. That's why we're responding to requests from other industry partners who see Barstow as a strategic location for critical mining, for example. The board had a presentation just recently about that. Clean energy, we're also in contact with other industry leaders that are looking for workforce training to support that. Logistics, obviously, assembly, advanced manufacturing, local business as well as it relates to the ecosystem that's happening here in Barstow. So for example, some of you are aware of the fact that the college has recently partnered with 160 Driving Academy, trying to assist with the development of workers who've got their CDL licenses. Again, helping to meet the needs of the logistics, the movement of goods. This photo is also highlighting clean energy work that we're doing. Some of you are aware of the STEM camp that's been happening in Barstow for many years. This had been supported by SoCal Edison, and we've had another new industry partner that has come to the college, actually post-COVID, Next Era. Next Era Energy is one of the world's leaders in clean energy innovation based in Florida. They came to Barstow, and they have been supporting this STEM camp. This was a free program camp that took place this last summer for grades, I think, 8 through 12. So our collaboration with Next Era really is sort of starting the pipeline early to help with training young people in clean energy, wind, solar, batteries, all those kinds of things, drones as well. So we're really we're supporting the training of adults and trying to start early, really focusing on a full pipeline of talent to support the programs. So I would, really like to close by re-emphasizing that Barstow Community College is, all in with supporting the big project, not just for the construction aspect of it, but for the long haul. We're here to train the workforce, to support the facility, and to serve the customers who will benefit from the inland port that B.I.G will create. We're really excited to strengthen our partnership with the city. We've met recently with Ken and Rochelle, and we know that there will be an economic blueprint, and we want to be strong collaborators in the development and implementation of that as it relates to workforce training. Some of you may be aware that the college had established a makerspace and was working really hard to provide support for innovators and small business development. So we are committed to revitalizing the makerspace and continuing to build out that support for entrepreneurship, business development that is all part of the broader economic development of the full ecosystem as B.I.G continues. So tonight, we just want to invite all of our community stakeholders to collaborate with us in supporting B.I.G and in working to build the future of Barstow together. really exciting times for us. The college, it's been a great opportunity, even this evening, to begin to learn more about the specific needs, not only for BIG, but big customers, whether they're warehouse or the suppliers that BNSF is supporting. We're very attuned to those needs, very flexible in our customized training, and that's a very exciting time for the college, and we really hope that the entire community will provide input for the kinds of support that your businesses may also benefit from the college. So with that, I want to thank you and want to invite up really the guest of honor, Lena Kent, General Director of Public Affairs for BNSF Railway. Everyone knows the experience that Lena brings with rail operations. Really happy to have you again to the college, Lena, to give an update. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Dr. B.I.G., and thank you so much for allowing us to have this important meeting right here in the auditorium. It's really a great honor to be here. First, I just want to say thank you to all of you who showed up tonight. I know it's opening night for football, and so you broke yourselves away from your TV or you drug your spouse down here, so thank you for doing that. I know we had a meeting a couple years ago on one of football's nights, and I stood up here and I told you the score because I was watching it on my phone. And our general manager who's here, Rich Dennison for the state of California, he told me afterwards, you shouldn't have given the score for everybody that was recording the game. You gave it away. So tonight I'm not going to give you the score, but I'll let you go home if you recorded it and let you watch it and enjoy the game. So I just want to start off, as we were thinking through this meeting and planning for this meeting, I did a lot of reflecting over the what's transpired over the past several years and how we got to where we are tonight. And I'm going to start off, and Dr. B.I.G. mentioned our great friend Lawrence Dell. I'm going to start off and just give you a little story about him. And many of you have heard me talk about in these meetings about a former mayor that came to the BNSF, that came to our office in San Bernardino and asked us, and this was about 20 years ago, it's been about 20 now, and asked us if we would come to Barstow and we would build a facility. And I remember we told Mr. Dale at that time that now is not the time, but one day we will be coming to Barstow when the business takes us to that point, but right now it's not going to happen. He was so angry with me. His leg shook underneath my desk, and it rattled for quite a bit. It felt like a long time. And I just kept saying, Lawrence, one day we'll be back. And I will tell you, the day we came back and we announced this project, that man had tears in his eyes as we talked about what is going to come to Barstow. And so I would just say that he was a dreamer. He dreamed big 20 years ago. And so I'm super excited to be here tonight to continue to talk about this important project. So just as we also, as I've reflected on the past several years, it was during COVID that we came out and we talked about, there was a lot of issues, as you all know, with the supply chain. You were going to Costco, you were trying to get your, 10 packs of toilet paper and you weren't able to get it. And we started to see a meltdown of the supply chain across the country. And it was at that time that the federal government and the state of California and the ports of LA and Long Beach all were really calling on the supply chain industry to think big and think of what you could do to help avoid a situation like this from happening again. It was really during that time that Barstow, the big project, was born out of. So I started to come up, I think it was towards the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, and started to have some conversations here with your city about the possibility of doing something here. And I just really want to take this opportunity to thank the city staff for just the work that they've been doing with us as we've worked to bring this to reality. I mean, because it truly takes a whole group of people to bring something like this forward. And so through these past several years, we've had community meetings. I had the opportunity to meet with so many of you. Early on, we met with the hospital, we met with the Little Leagues, we met with the high school students, we met with the first responders, the real estate agents, and so many other groups, because it was really important to get everybody's feedback into what this project is going to be. It really to have a shared vision of what we were going to do here in Barstow. And because of all of that input that was given to us in those early years of this project, we were able to incorporate that into that document that you will see here before the end of the year, the draft environmental impact report. And so here we are tonight. We're finally to the point where we are getting so close. And I know there was some early on who thought this will probably never happen. And there were those that were right away, this is going to happen, we're going to make it happen. And so it's been this journey of just keeping everybody excited about what this is going to mean for Barstow, what this is going to mean for this city and the residents here in terms of the jobs that will be brought forward, the economic vitality that will come as a result of such an important project. A project that's transformative in the way we move goods, probably the most transformative way that goods will move that's happened in the past 50 years. This really changes the game, and something that people across the country and across the world are watching. I, in fact, had a phone call this past month from the government in Canada wanting to know more details about what we're doing in Barstow and could this work in Canada. So I will tell you that people across the world are watching what's going on here and trying to figure out if they can make it work in their areas. So I'm going to I know that there's some people here, many of you have heard what the project is about, but I just want to take a couple of minutes to explain what the project is about for those people who perhaps aren't as familiar with it. Let me see if I can get this to work. I will note that they did not give me the walk-around mic, and I think that they know that I'm sure several of the staff members really gasped every time I got too close to the edge of that stage. And for those people that were in the front row, I'm sure they felt like their lives were in jeopardy the closer I got. So they're going to keep me behind the podium, even though I like to walk around and talk. So I'm going to try to stay right here and walk you through the PowerPoint presentation. Just a little bit about BNSF. We operate in 28 states and 3 Canadian provinces. We have 37,000 employees across those 28 states and 3 Canadian provinces. At any given moment, we're operating about 1,200 trains a day, and we have 32,500 route miles of track. So it's a big operation, and it takes a lot of people to do what we do in terms of moving America's goods. There's some that may not know what's in those containers, what's in those trains that are passing through our area. And I would say just look around you, look at your daily lives, look at what you're driving, look at your telephone, look at the clothes you're wearing, the food you're eating. In all likelihood, it moved on a train, a BNSF train, out of the ports of LA and Long Beach or from the Northern California region. As it's goods moving across the country. So super important. And if there's any of our BNSF employees in here, I just want to say thank you to you and your families for everything you do to move America's goods, because you truly are an essential worker and you make a difference in this country with the work that you do. So when you think about the goods that are coming in through the ports of LA and Long Beach, containers are coming in and they move in different ways. So some containers that are moving in will be picked up by a truck, and they will be, they'll stay right here in California, in Southern California, for all of us to be able to use the goods that are in those. Other containers will be picked up by a truck, and they'll be taken by truck, or they'll be taken over the highway to a warehouse center. And the contents of those containers will be taken out. They'll reshuffle them, they'll pack them into they're in a 40-foot container, they'll repackage them into a 53-foot container, which is now considered a domestic unit. And then that container will be picked up by a truck, and it will be taken back down to our facility, either in San Bernardino or in Los Angeles. It's not super efficient that way because you create a lot of truck movement on the highway and a lot of handoffs and a lot of delays for the goods in those boxes. And obviously an expense to the ultimate consumer that's relying on those. So you have that way. Then there are containers that are loaded directly onto a train at the ports and moved through the region via rail to destinations across the country. Let's see. So here's where Barstow comes in, and here's how it really changes the way goods are moving. So we acquired about 4,500 acres here in Barstow, and thank you to anybody here that allowed us to acquire your property and to help make this dream a reality and bring this vision forward. So we just want to say thank you to you because it wouldn't have been possible without your cooperation and your vision as well for the city of Barstow. But so we came out with this idea that we were going to move containers directly from the ports of LA and Long Beach onto a train, 130 miles, and we're gonna stop them right here in Barstow. And on that footprint will be the on-site warehouses and will be the intermodal facility. We'll lift containers off of that train. We'll take them by an electric hostler, a zero-emission hostler within the yard, to the on-site warehouse. They'll be processed there. They'll be picked back up from that warehouse on-site, come back to the intermodal facility, be loaded onto a train, and taken out of the region via rail. It's a closed-loop system. I have heard from some people that they still think that this is a facility where everything's going to be trucked in. That is not the case. That is not the plan. We are a railroad, and that is our intent, to move it by rail in and move it by rail out. So certainly going to take millions of truck miles off of our local freeways as we move it over the Cajon Pass and into Barstow. I would say some may say, well, what about your truck drivers? Do we need to worry about them losing their jobs? And I would say that our trucking companies are our biggest customers, and we have great partnerships with them. They've obviously struggled with trying to find drivers with higher prices, with drivers being away from home for extended periods of time. This gives them the opportunity to live and work closer to their job site. So certainly a great partnership that we've formed with many of our trucking companies. I think in the past, you've heard me say that this facility is a $1.5 billion facility. You'll notice up on the screen, it's a $4 billion facility. So we were very conservative. We talked about it, the $1.5 billion just as the intermodal facility. But when you look at it all in for what we're going to do there and the warehouse piece of it, the track, the intermodal facility, it's actually a $4 billion investment that we'll be making in this community. So you will notice that in the draft EIR when that comes out. So it's a huge amount of money, and it's going to bring a lot of great benefits, I think, to the city in terms of that economic vitality. I'm going to show you a video for those of you that are still wishing you were at the game, so at least you get a little movie time here. I'm not sure if I have to hit it.
More than 30% of the international containers brought into the U.S. arrives through the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach. With this continuous flow of traffic and increasing demand at the ports and in the Inland Empire, there is an opportunity to create new jobs in the high desert, improve efficiency, and increase sustainability. The BNSF Railway Barstow International Gateway, or B.I.G, offers an opportunity to move cargo directly from the ports to its destination quickly and safely. With B.I.G, international containers will be loaded from ships onto BNSF trains to Barstow, located approximately 130 miles from the ports, instead of being trucked. Containers will arrive at the state-of-the-art facility to be processed, where there will be more than 500,000 feet of track space and on-site warehouses. With sufficient capacity, the incoming containers from the ports will be transferred by hybrid electric cranes directly onto a waiting chassis within the facility. The containers will be transported through the facility via battery electric hostlers into the logistics park section of the facility, where they will ultimately be transloaded in the millions of available square feet of on-site integrated warehouses into domestic containers, in preparation for further rail movement across North America. The domestic containers will then be positioned for an outbound train to destinations across our network, and the empty international containers will be returned back via train to the ports. While these domestic containers are being built into outbound trains, international containers for lower density markets are also simultaneously being brought into the switching yard in preparation for outbound trains as well, ultimately allowing for denser trains entering the network. With these denser trains comes more efficiency and consistency to getting freight on time to its destination. As the containers move east, they will enter the rest of the BNSF network, supporting Southern California's ports, the local and national supply chain, and the economy.
All righty. I know that there's been some discussions in the past, like, is this really going to happen? Is BNSF really committed to this project? I can tell you from the top of our company, Katie Farmer, pictured here as our president and CEO, is very committed to this project. And she's been at a number of speaking engagements talking about how important this project is, how important Barstow is, for not only for the state of California, but also the nation's supply chain. And so she continues to stay committed to it. In fact, those of us that are working on this project get called on the carpet if we even get a week behind in our deadline. So she wants to keep this project moving and to stay on time and to stay on target. So happy to see that we still have a strong commitment from our company to spend $4 billion here. So a little bit about, just the benefits that the project's going to bring. Obviously, we've talked about a number. You've seen 20,000 jobs, direct and indirect. It doesn't mean 20,000 people are going to work at the facility, but there will be thousands of people that do work at that facility. But when you build a small city within a city, you also have to keep in mind that will create a lot of other employment in and around it. So in terms of, you're going to need establishments, obviously, to feed folks. You're going to be creating jobs for housing. And the list goes on and on, activities for kids, things like that. So we certainly know that it's going to provide a lot of jobs outside of what will happen in the facility. Super excited to hear Dr. B.I.G talk about the training that they're working towards for the educational piece of this, because we really need to get our workforce up and running and ready for when the day this facility opens. And I think that's something that's really important also for our customers. I'm excited to see that there's going to be so many of our high school kids that are going to graduate from high school and have an opportunity, if they choose, to stay right here in Barstow and work at the facility. Or for those that are here in the audience or that live in the community that are currently driving into Apple Valley, Victorville, or down the hill for work, they'll have an opportunity to work right here, right where they live, and be closer to home and get home hopefully at a decent hour in time for that football game that you all are not seeing tonight. So, and obviously from a supply chain perspective, super important from a supply chain. As I talked about in the beginning, there's a lot of handoffs, a lot of inefficiencies, an increased cost for the consumer. This certainly helps to alleviate a lot of those issues that we've have faced here in Southern California. And then just the elimination of the millions of truck miles that are currently on our freeways, going up through the Cajon Pass on their way to various locations across the country. This gives them an opportunity to move that by rail and free up some of that much needed capacity on our highways. And I think the state of California, I know the state of California has recognized how important this project is for our transportation infrastructure here in the state, because they put it in their 2024 state rail plan. They actually called out Barstow in their plan, which you never see individual projects called out, but this is one that they called out, which really signifies the importance of this and how everybody's watching this and rooting for this to happen, given the benefits that it will create for the state. We'll go into this one. I do want to just touch lightly for some of you, and for those of you that really jumped in and helped us on this front. There were a number of you who did. Your own mayor, Tim Silva, jumped in and helped us on this issue. Supervisor Don Rao's office helped us. Congressman Obernolte was just the biggest cheerleader for us, I think, in Washington, D.C. as we battled this issue, and a little bit about it. So the California Air Resources Board had a really lofty initiative, and that was to ensure that every single locomotive operating in the state of California was battery electric, battery operated locomotive. Unfortunately, there's just not one that's viable yet. We've tested it. You've heard me talk about it. We tested the first battery electric locomotive between Stockton and Barstow, and unfortunately, it just didn't have enough battery power to make it all the way there. So the fact that the state of California was going to require us to have every locomotive by 2035 electric was a huge undertaking. They were also going to require us to put $800 million a year into a fund to buy battery electric locomotives. That really represents a third of our capital plan for across the entire country. It was something that we were not going to be able to do, and we were not going to be able to build this facility in California if in fact that was something they were going to continue to move forward with. We weren't even sure if we were going to be able to operate our trains into California. We were going to have to stop at the border, and everything was going to be trucked in. This community came out in force. You helped us with that. You helped deliver that message to Sacramento and also to Washington, D.C., to the EPA. And earlier this year, CARB withdrew their plans to do that. Does that mean it gives us a plan? Yeah, thank you. Thank you to all of you. It doesn't mean it gives us a pass, though. It means that we still have to do our part to be a good neighbor, to reduce emissions, and that is something we're very committed to doing. So you will know in the design of this facility, we have battery electric hostlers to move containers in and around the facility. We have a solar farm that's planned to help power a lot of the electricity that's needed, because as you can imagine, it takes a lot of power to build a facility, 4,600 acres. And so we will have to supplement what Edison is able to provide with the solar farm. So we're going to continue to do our part to reduce emissions. You may be interested to know that one train can move anywhere from 280 to 400 trucks off the highway. So we're fuel efficient. We're 2 to 3 times more fuel efficient than a truck handling an equivalent load. So it's an environmentally friendly way to move goods over land. But even that, we're going to continue to do our part to continue to reduce emissions. So I think Colin talked a lot about where we're at in terms of that draft document. It has been a very long process. There are a lot of agencies that we've had to work with to try to get that document prepared, and we're excited for all of you to have a chance to read it. I won't go through the list, but you can see here that it's an exhaustive list in terms of the work that needs to be done on it. Where we're at, again, we're at that point of preparing the draft EIR. We're at the end of that document, or that end of that stage. So it will be out before the end of the year, and you'll get a chance to read all about it. Once it does come out, you have a chance to read about the project and provide any comments that you'd like to on the document. As Colin mentioned, we'll go back, we'll look at those comments, we'll incorporate some of those comments into the document, and then we'll come out with a final document. And it will be at that time then that your city council will have an opportunity to vote yes or no on this project. I am hopeful that it is a yes vote, given just the tremendous benefits it will bring to the region, but that will be up to your city council on how they vote on the project. Once if we get a yes vote, I'm just going to say we're going to get a yes vote. I can be positive here. We will begin construction in 2026. And then we anticipate opening the facility in 2028. So a lot of work. We are full speed ahead. We are not slowing down, and we're going to do everything we can to stay on schedule with the opening of the facility. I think that's it. So I do want to just mention really quickly, I think I'm the last speaker here, but it doesn't mean that the night is over. Many of us will be in the lobby. We have tables set up, so I will tell you that the city of Barstow will be out there, PlaceWorks will be out there, Barstow Chamber, the Barstow Community College, 1st District Supervisor Paul Cook's office will be there, 3rd District Supervisor Don Rao's office will be there, Assemblyman Tom Lackey, Senator Oche Baugh, Congressman Olbernolte. So we have everybody out there, and then Rich and I will also be out there to take any questions from the BNSF side. So please feel free to stop by the booth to come and say hello and ask any questions that you may have from just the team that's here tonight to help facilitate this. So again, thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. Thank you for continuing to dream big with us, and I can't wait to get this project started.
Thank you, Ms. Kent, and that is the conclusion of the program. Just want to go down the line here and just thank everybody again. We have Dr. Ava Bag with the community college. We have Colin Drucker, PlaceWorks. We have Lena Kent with BNSF, and I screwed up the beginning. I forgot to mention that the city manager Rochelle Clayton is here as well. She's a driving force with the city. So as mentioned before, we're gonna have some people in the lobby. Please join us out there for some questions. Thank you much.